Welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. I'm Mike, that's Isaac, Jamie, and we're joined by Joseph and Joel to talk One Piece on Netflix. Guys, it came out yesterday, and we have a review of episode 1, spoiler filled. Also, shout out to Brandon for making that incredible intro for the Straw Hats going forward. It's going to be a fantastic show. We're talking episodes 1 through 5 because that's pretty much where all of us have gotten to. We want to make sure we're not spoiling future events either if you haven't been able to binge watch the show. So if you haven't seen up to episode 5, this is probably the best time to leave. But if you've watched the show, if you've watched up to that episode, you're welcome to stick around. We're having a great time here. Isaac, welcome back, man. How you doing?
I'm tired, and having to go out to the rain at 1 a.m. for a bit. That's to the point that it almost go through the rain clothes. Ugh, but I digress.
That's a lot, dude. But I'm happy you can make it. Jamie, we're back talking One Piece, or as AJ and Isaac would say, Goat Piece. How you been?
I've been doing well. I was tired before this, but I took a nap. So now I'm like refreshed, energized, probably not going to sleep tonight, but I don't have to worry about that. Y'all don't have to worry about that. I'm excited to talk about One Piece.
Who needs sleep? We're trying to get to the grand line, dang it. Joseph, this is your first time here on the show. Introduce yourself, let the people know where they can find you. And how you been? Welcome aboard.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm doing good. I have enough Coke Zero in me to stay up at 2 a.m. I write for Murphy's Multiverse. I just got my review out for One Piece probably like 10 minutes before I jumped on here. And anyone can find me on Twitter at thatoutbell.
Awesome. Make sure you guys check out his work. Fantastic stuff. Joel, we meet again. We're back.
Indeed.
Talking One Piece. I know you're a fan. How excited were you getting to this point? Like, I know anime adaptations can be a little scary for fans. So, what were you feeling before we got here?
I'm more open to it than most people when it comes to adaptation in general.
Mm-hmm.
So when I heard about it, I was excited. I really was, because I mean, I've been watching One Piece for a long time, so I've always it's just natural for me to imagine what would it be like if it was real, like a live action. Like I always think that way. So when they actually said they would do it, was I scared? Yeah, a little bit, because you never know how it's actually going to turn out. But I'm still excited for the potential, and that's what One Piece is. It's just tons of potential if you get it right. Problem is, it's not the easiest anime to adapt. So if you do it one for one, it can be silly. So far, I've been very impressed.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. It's one of those things, and Isaac, you've talked about this plenty of times. Anime adaptations are hard in general because of the nature of the source material. Like manga, anime, they don't translate one to one. I mean, this show alone is about a guy who's made out of rubber, who can't swim. Kind of.
Yeah, it's just how should I put it? There are some animes or mangas that should be easier than others. Can't believe me, but as in general, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So getting to this point, I think, was the most fascinating. Like seeing how it kind of builds and seeing them build the sets and the behind the scenes photos and conversations, and the anticipation just kind of mounting and mounting and mounting. And Joseph, as somebody who was also covering this show, what was your experience like from the announcement to it finally arriving? Because for me, I'm not even a fan of One Piece, and that was kind of a roller coaster, the ups and downs of it all.
Funny enough, I didn't realize it was in production until much later. So I think it was right around before the pandemic started that I found out, oh, it's actually happening. I thought it was announced. We'll see. But I started covering it when a good friend of mine, Suki, sent a recording from Matt Owens where he was talking about doing the show in the Reverie, and I was a part of the community, but not like that deep yet. And it just kind of kickstarted that. Ever since that day, I just was like, I have to follow it. And ironically, every time some big news came out, I was on vacation, so I could never cover it until finally production started. So it was just running gag that anytime I went on vacation, there's going to be something about the One Piece show, and it was pretty much every time.
That's brutal.
Someone's leaking your vacation schedule or something.
Seriously. I guess we can get into the conversation. Thanks, Isaac, for sending that over, by the way. Jamie, last we talked, we reviewed episode 1. I guess I want to see your thoughts on how it's progressed and evolved, because we kind of ended on we don't know where it's going to happen, what's going to happen, or where it's going to go next type of thing. So has it been kind of jumping back into that world for episodes 2 through 5?
It's been really awesome. It's been interesting to see, like, compare my reaction to some people on YouTube and like people in the comments from our last video talking about One Piece. Like, some people were very impressed. Like, Netflix has not had like a great track record when it comes to anime adaptations, and others are just like, this isn't One Piece. Like, I don't acknowledge this as being One Piece. So I'm very curious, as similar to you, Mike, kind of an outsider looking in, why people are saying this, or maybe if it was just like the hype built up. But I know for me personally, I've been really pleased with the way that things have been like coming together. And honestly, I almost feel like it was needed, because I'm in like around episode 140 something ish, and some of these key character moments like completely left my brain. So watching so watching like Sanji's introduction, or like Zoro get like reinvigorated with his passion for sword fighting and wanting to become like the greatest swordsman of all time, seeing those moments put on the screen, especially in live action, where you can kind of connect a little bit more on that human level. It's been really great for me. So I've definitely enjoyed it more and more as I've been watching. And I'm excited to see, 1, the rest of the season, but 2, just the way that they hopefully continue to build on this, because Netflix still has not had a great track record with like continuing to develop these anime adaptations. Granted, they haven't had such I feel like a positive reception so far, or at least I would say slightly mixed, but leaning towards the positive side with One Piece. So I'm really hoping that they feel like encouraged and invigorated and proud of the work they've done so far, and will continue to adapt, or possibly find their own space to continue creating One Piece.
It's a very good point, honestly. The Netflix cloud is looming over this show so much, and like in the sense that we're as of the stream, we don't know if it's going to get renewed. We don't know if it's going to be like Cowboy Bebop, where like in 3 weeks, like, yeah, we're cutting it, we're not continuing this series. I think it's doing well. Like you said, the reception has been fairly positive.
Yeah,
Isaac, I think you shared in the chat. You shared on our Discord that it's like, what, an 89 critic rating, like 95
I think
audience?
around 80. Around 80 in the critics, 94 last I checked in the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. The only that has gotten better, as far as I can remember, is Edge of Tomorrow, but that's barely an adaptation, I would argue. It's more inspired because they changed so much with that thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the other thing, now that I'm thinking about it, is, which makes it probably harder for them to pull the trigger on doing a season 2 or saying anything about the status of the show, is the fact that the strikes are going on right now. So who knows what might shake out from this as well. So it's definitely, I don't know, it's just a scary time in general for them to be releasing something and not be able to do like the press tours and things like that. And especially to try and commit to another season of this, not knowing what the future holds for Netflix right now. So,
though they did renew Exo Kitty for a second season, which was surprising. Okay. And that was during the strike. So it's not completely out, but given the budget, they might be a little hesitant.
That's true. I was actually just texting Brandon, who's on vacation, couldn't make this stream. But he was asking about that, and I tried to think about it, and I kind of landed on if the actors were already under contract, like if they had season 2 and 3 in their contract, they probably could just announce it. But if they didn't, they can't negotiate with them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be the hang up. So I think that might be where we're at, but also they're just gonna let this ride out a little bit. They might announce this in a month or two. Who knows?
Yeah, give it some time to breathe.
Yeah,
I'm fairly certain that they heard
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that they heard something that they had at least 3 seasons contract.
They're gonna need a lot more if they want to tell the story, but that's a start.
I think it was the contract with South Africa, wasn't it? Sorry.
Considering how many chapters they have adapted, I'm not going to go in. It's I don't know, because the URL will know exactly what I'm talking about. But can I mention how many chapters they have essentially adapted?
I don't see why not.
They essentially adapt 94 chapters in this season, which means that they would need, unless they do an original ending, at least, or should I say minimum 10 plus or something like that. If they, maybe I would say at least 10, depending on how might they cut, rearrange, and all that. Yes.
I mean, I'd be happy if they get to 5. That at least takes you to like the Summit War. There, I'm good, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to think about the long term when it comes to this particular show because it's like the anime already exists. We have the manga. Yeah, that's also true. We also have the manga that's still ongoing as well. So that's why I'm thinking like you start with the like beginning of the story and then see where things go after that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm really curious to see what they have planned.
I always theorize that maybe they'll go down the round because Oda's original vision was I think he wanted to work on it for 5 years, so it would have ended around around Skypiea. So who knows if perhaps they're like, okay, we might not make it all the way with 10 seasons, so let's just do your original vision.
That honestly might work. As somebody who hasn't read or watched the anime to like up to that point, if he had an idea of how to end that series shorter, it might be best for this show to do it because they're not cartoons. These people are going to age. So like once they get 5 seasons deep, they're gonna look a little older. It's gonna be a little harder unless you just start saying Luffy's 30, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they do have a time jump, so
it's like 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Not that big of a time jump.
I mean, they could always exaggerate. Obviously, they can do whatever they want with it. There's like 6 sagas that they could fit within maybe 5 seasons if they do it the way they do in this first season. It's doable. Some of these sagas are pretty big. I mean, they'd have to obviously condense it a lot, but it's doable.
Yeah.
The thing is, if they get to a point they can do 10 seasons, I wouldn't be surprised they just film as long as they can to get it as fast as possible. Because if you're at that point, no one's going to stop you anymore.
The reason I say that I could see them going more than 3 to maybe even 5 seasons is that now that the Stranger Things is going to end, what do they really have as a big long shot?
That's a good point.
Potentially Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Maybe.
And I say potentially because we haven't seen any trailer yet and all that jazz. But besides that, My Hero Academia, as far as correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that supposed to be a movie?
Yeah, it's a movie.
It's a movie. Okay.
Don't remind me of that, by the way.
There are also supposedly some Sword Art Online stuff and all that, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Honestly, and they did I know Pokemon also, but I doubt that
Pokemon.
will happen.
Yeah,
if they do adapt, they should do Colosseum and External Darkness, but I doubt Pokemon Company would even be okay with that one, considering considering the story. But I digress.
Let's take a second and jump in the comments. Welcome along, Mo H. Thanks for joining us. You mentioned this: longer seasons, shorter episodes. That way they can adapt 2-ish sagas per season. I'm gonna let the manga readers answer that because I don't know.
2 sagas a season is tough.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same.
I will say they do have ships built, so they have sets that they can probably use.
Yeah, but there's so much variety in every saga. Not one is the same as the last.
I once wrote that the biggest challenge One Piece will have is that with each new season, it'll technically get more and more expensive because it just gets crazier. Which is just already a challenge. I mean,
crazier from year.
I don't want to know the budget for a whole Cake Island arc.
I was just about to say that.
If they get that far, I don't even know how that would work.
I don't either, honestly. I did work on arcs in order, so I have some basic knowledge of what these future arcs are, and I don't know how they get there or want to, honestly.
Yes, the Gear 5 in the Gear 5 fight as a whole. It would that fight would just cost. That fight would cost AAA, but it was a big blockbuster budget on its own with how insane it is.
Welcome, Perp. Thanks for stopping by. You're cool with them being aged up as the story goes. They don't need to be teens for X amount of seasons. I'm going to be real. I never got the impression they were teens in this season.
Yeah.
They felt like young adults anyway. So
yeah. It also helps that you're with them for so long. You just assume they aged. But the show, that's just like, it really is like 2-3 years between the whole damn thing. It's like, how? I don't know how they fit all that in 3 years.
For anyone who's read the story, anyone was like, what, you're telling me it was a year between East Blue all the way to the time jump, and no one believed them to that day.
Makes no sense.
That could work. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem right logically, but fuck it, we'll see.
I mean, if it makes the money, and again, it's Netflix, we don't know if this makes them any money because they're very secretive about that. But if it's getting them the views and the money that they need, they're gonna just keep milking this thing as long as they can. Like Isaac was saying, like once Stranger Things is over, they have Wednesday, but I don't know how long Jenna Ortega is gonna want to do that. And
I have forgotten about Wednesday. I'm not gonna lie.
And Avatar: The Last Airbender is literally 3 seasons. You know?
Yeah.
So that show will be over like that, even if they get to the end.
I mean, they could always branch off, but yeah. I mean, they're probably gonna try to live off of Avatar. One piece of it keeps going, and obviously they like The Witcher a lot too. But I don't know how much longer that has. So it's like,
yeah, how much juice in the tank does Liam Hemsworth have?
Are you calling it now? They're not even gonna do that season.
Oh boy,
no. I think One Piece has one unique aspect, and is that they already have merchandise in place.
Sure.
And it's pretty much the Marvel strategy or the Disney strategy, is that you can boost a lot of what you're doing now with merchandise to kind of get more money in. And if they already see good sales of merchandise at One Piece, I think if I read somewhere that made like $5 billion just on merchandise alone. Jeez. And if they bank on that, you're likely just going to fund it through that additional income source. And at this point, Oda could pretty much finance the whole thing himself if he wanted to for all seasons.
It very much reminds me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, right? Like that did fine at the box office, but I think like Variety reported that it made like Nickelodeon and Paramount like $1 billion just off of merchandise alone. So it's like the movie was just an ad, just like in the 80s. It was just an ad. Go buy toys, go buy Funko Pops and T-shirts and all in backpacks, and they made their money. And so,
it's crazy you say that because at my theater, they like to show like older movies. Like right now they're showing Old Boy, which I actually want to go see. and before their previews were the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles commercials for like the toys and stuff. So they had like their own little custom thing, and I'm like, dang, like if I was a kid, I'd definitely be like, Mom, look, like I want this toy. So yeah, merch is definitely huge for them.
Yeah, so One Piece might be in a very similar boat, especially Netflix added, I don't know if you guys noticed this, Netflix added like 4 or 5 One Piece movies to the studio service.
Yeah,
I saw that. I was
Not
like,
fair.
And they're all trending.
Exactly.
Not fair.
They added new seasons to Netflix of the anime. They added the movies, and so it's like it's all working together. So if they strike a deal to keep Netflix on the platform, to keep One Piece on the platform, that'll be a huge part in the success of this show. But I actually want to talk about this show because we've been talking about the ancillary things. Joseph, what were your thoughts on this show? It's a spoiler stream. Go all out. Tell us everything. Up to episode 5.
Remember, first 5.
Yeah. Overall, I think it's probably one of Netflix's best first seasons I've seen. I think it's really strong, has a unique vision throughout, but I do believe it has some like growing pains that you see in first seasons. Like they have these lenses and they're overdoing them at times or trying to be a bit ambitious. Sometimes they're really good at handling that balance between the goofiness and a bit more grounded, but there's just some moments the cracks slip. Some of the CG, I think at some points, it looks really good. I think Luffy, the effect, they really managed it with quick shots, but there's still like 1-2 sequences where it's like, okay, it's just like on that border, but that's expected. I mean, at least they did it, unlike Miss Marvel.
Very true.
And it's impressive what they accomplished with this story, and especially the first 4 episodes really show that they looked at the East Blue Saga, which in the manga is just, it's Oda figuring out what he's trying to do. Like this is definitely not what it was originally, like how he writes nowadays. And it feels like a story that Oda would have written if with his mindset now, revisiting that saga. And I think that makes it stand out because you can kind of see his ideas going into it and how it connects and everything.
I think I completely agree with that. As somebody who hasn't really read the manga, I have seen a lot of this arc in the anime. And that's also why I didn't finish the anime. It's not bad, but it just didn't click for me, probably because it was those growing pains of, the first arc in a story is always usually going to be the weakest. But I think this one captures the spirit of that story very well. And I think this cast is just so likable. They're just so great.
Yeah.
They're electric. As soon as you meet every single one of these characters, I'm just drawn in. And the campiness and the weird CG at times on Luffy, like it just all kind of goes away because I think the quirkiness is a part of the charm, at least for me. Yeah. Joel, I kind of want your thoughts because, again, being completely detached from these characters and this world, I want to know as a fan, like, how was it seeing all of that come to life?
It was surreal, not gonna lie. It was, man, it's a long time coming. Like I always wanted to see this adapted, like I told you earlier, and you had to hit with Luffy. Like that was like number one. Like, can you hit with Luffy? Can you grab the same energy? Can you hit on the same? He's a unique character in that he's kind of always positive and happy-go-lucky, but when he's serious, he can be serious. I'd say he's one of those characters that he's a classic anime character. He's always fucking hungry and happy. And he's just kind of stupid sometimes, but he's all heart. So, like, you had to hit that part of it, and they nail it with Inaki. I think when he got casted at, like, I remember when they originally casted everybody, I didn't know anybody from anywhere. They were all very new. Even though I did see Inaki one time before that, I just didn't recognize him. But still, like, it's not like he's playing the same character. He's a very different character. And they have a chance to embody these characters from the very beginning and not be, like I've seen them before somewhere else. Even though I have seen some of them before, they can become these characters, and you can just. It's crazy how sometimes you look at them, and like I could see it and feel it because they get the costuming in this show with not just the main characters, with everybody. Like just the little aesthetics that hit really hard, and that's like this is when we talk about comic book adaptation. This is what we talk about. Like it doesn't have to look exactly like it, but you got to hit the spirit of the character and hit certain aesthetics correctly, and you could do things right. And like this show does exactly that with the majority of the characters. Like I can't really say I almost recognize everybody just by looking at them, and that's not easy to do in live adaptation. This was incredible. They've all hit their characters so well. It's just such a, I don't know, it's just a very positive feeling, and that's the whole point of the show. There's a lot of heart in One Piece as an anime, and I think the live action has done a really good job of adapting it already in this first season. That you already start like the emotion comes out and you feel it, and you get people to feel, they'll care. So it's like that's the beginning. So they've nailed that. They've nailed the aesthetics. The CGI is a little wonky once in a while, true, for some moments especially. But it's to be expected on a TV show, especially. But that for the most part, it's really hard to argue. They pretty much nail most of it. And they had to condense a lot of this saga. So I'm already at, like, I guess we could spoil it, but the fact that they've already got to the point where in episode 5, you already see a big change. Like they pretty much, Don Krieg is barely a cameo. Like he's not even in it. There's no big fight with Don Krieg. I was like, okay,
he's out.
I was not expecting that. I was like, okay, he gets knocked out pretty quickly, not by Luffy, by Mihawk, and I'm like, okay, that was very big. That's very big. It's a big change for people that watch the show. That was the biggest change for me because everything else, like I mostly forgot. You know, it's like it's been so long. I haven't gone back to watch the original in so long.
Especially these arcs, right? Like you've been watching One Piece for a while.
Yeah, especially the beginning arcs of the East Blue Saga. I remember images, and so they've hit a lot of those images. So I don't even argue with a lot of the changes that they did. Aside from that, because that's the only thing that stuck out like a sore thumb. But I thought so. Even the origins have been really good so far too.
Jamie, any thoughts?
No, yeah, I definitely something that stuck out that you said was that, you know, if you're able to get people to like feel something, they'll start to care about these characters. And made me think back to as we were talking like in our group chat, Trayvon, who actually I don't know if he's ever been on the Amateur Otaku, but we talked with him over on the chatter after. He was saying that he teared up at the end of episode 2, which goes into Luffy's backstory quite a bit. And he is like, I don't think he's ever seen an episode of One Piece a day in his life, you know?
He's never watched it. He doesn't watch anime. That's why he's not on this channel.
Right. But he was able to connect with Luffy and just connect with these characters and this story. And to me, I think that's a really good sign as far as just, like you were saying, like Trayvon doesn't really watch anime like that, but bringing this to live action, they do have an opportunity to expand their audience or reach people that like, oh, they might have the perspective like maybe cartoons are for kids, even though they're not, or like maybe I just don't indulge in anime like that. So this is a really big opportunity for them, and I'm glad to see like things have been going well so far. And I'm glad you pointed out like the Mihawks fight with I don't even remember the guy's name because honestly I was like I just thought that was the way that things went in the show. I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. I'm like, it was a really badass intro, and I'm like, oh, like this guy, he's really cool. So to see like kind of how when Zoro sees him, he challenges him, and you're already concerned because you've seen what he can do already. Right. And then to see that he kind of like helped spark his passion for sword fighting again and for training, because Zoro trains all the time in the anime, and I think I kind of forgot like why he did that. Like I knew he wanted to be strong, but seeing that moment again, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is the reason. Like this right here is what's inspiring him to like push beyond his limits, and he's training all the time, and he's trying to be the best swordsman that he can be. So yeah, this show is definitely I think it's been a great opportunity for One Piece to continue to reach new people, and a great opportunity for Netflix to, you know, finally get one of these things right.
They were due. I'm just glad it was the big one.
Oh, yeah, me too, man. I was holding out hope.
Perp in the comments says all the OG Straw Hats are on point, and Buggy is perfect.
Buggy's awesome. Even the CG is not that bad. I give him a lot of credit for that.
the buggy fight. This again, I didn't know what to expect from that. Like once he started like popping off limbs, like I was so freaked out, not knowing what Buggy could do. But it also, like you were saying, Joel, it didn't look that goofy. Like they actually pulled it off. As ridiculous as it is, this story, I've gotten engrossed into it. 2 episodes in, I'm just like, sure, yeah, killer clowns out here fighting the Rubber Man. Yeah. Cool. The way they defeated him too was kind of interesting, and it kind of seeds some things going on with Nami and her relationship with Zoro specifically in this episode. I thought was really great. That's again just the characters and the actors again shining through, because we don't spend a lot of time with them, but episode 1 and 2 I'm sold. Like I love Luffy, Nami, and Zoro, and I think that is a testament to the direction and the actors again like pulling the source material through. Joseph, did you have any thoughts on how they handled the villains or any of what's going on here in the first couple episodes, especially Buggy? I guess we can focus on Buggy since Pert mentioned that.
Jeff Ward is such a perfect choice for him. I loved him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it was, at first everyone was like, oh, well, Matt Owens worked on the show, so that's how they know each other. It's like, it's just the performance. He really pulls off like that balance between absolute madness, but still kind of the goofy clown that's just Buggy, especially in the early days before his personality was truly finalized.
Right.
And it's interesting how I agree, Joel, the effect works. It's surprisingly how well it works. Especially because it's not like they go out and try to make it all realistic with blood or anything. It's just he just pops out in parts. And I love how at the end of the fight he's just the mini version that he was in the cover story manga. It was such a great way to combine it. It looked well. I actually made my girlfriend watch it with me, who she has no idea about One Piece, and she fell in love with the show as well. And it was just, that was like one of her favorite moments. She keeps talking about it. It's just like how goofy it looks with the little guy. Like
it looks silly in the cartoon, in anime. So it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think they really pulled off the villains well throughout the story. I think Kuro was good, was really well handled. The actor does a great performance. I first was a little, I don't know why, but the first time I saw his face, he just looked like he had like plastic surgery, just as how straight his face was.
Mike, do you remember who I compared him to? I forget what the show is called, but it was like this show on Nickelodeon. I don't know. He was I have to look it up again now. But he does look kind of odd. Yeah.
But it kind of works for the character because he's supposed to be someone you trust, but at the same time, something's off about him, so it worked. Mm-hmm. I think my favorite change is the Nyanban siblings with Sham and his name I always forget.
Bootsy, something to be. I know it's to be.
Yeah, something like that. But I like the way they were just part of the staff, and they used these characters and then used them as well as a fight for Zoro.
Yeah.
I did miss Jacko though. I was really sad we didn't get Jacko. He's like one of my favorite characters in the East Blue, and he has such a great little story on the side. So I hope maybe they somehow find a way for him to show up again. I know there's a wanted poster with him somewhere out there.
Probably, right? A lot of Easter eggs if you pay attention.
Yeah.
There are
especially the opening.
Easter eggs.
So many Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, callbacks, little hints here and there about even stuff I don't remember the anime ever hinting at. So, like I appreciate that. So you never know. A lot of world building already.
Perp in the chat says, "Can't wait for Whitebeard and Blackbeard. Arnold Schwarzenegger would be perfect as Whitebeard."
I want to know how they do the size of Whitebeard. You know what I mean? Like
I wonder how they do this.
I'm more worried about the size. Like how he's a giant. Like, oh man, that's gonna be interesting. If they get to that point.
Oh my gosh, this man is huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's a big guy.
I don't even think it's the weird thing about Oda is he loves to play with sizes. So just because the giants exist in this world does not mean that a huge person is a giant. They are just huge.
Right.
It's just random.
It really is.
Whitebeard is small compared to Big Mom, but that's just
and she's human.
Yeah, right.
Just so random.
This show is weird. There's some big motherfuckers in this world.
That is going to be so funny. However, they pull that mustache off.
Oh wow!
Oh my god! Look at that I can't believe they pulled off Zeph's mustache. Like, you got to respect that worked out at all.
That worked. He looks great. He looks amazing. Zeph looks great.
Zeph was so good. Not to go too much into that because I think we get a lot more of him in episode 6, so we're going to try and refrain from that a little bit. But I just loved all the character introductions. Like, I loved meeting Usopp for the first time and meeting Sanji, and like, I love how the show adds a certain gravitas to those character introductions. Like, even though this is the first time we're meeting them in this series, they still kind of play it up of like, yeah, we're gonna introduce Sanji, and then once he meets the Straw Hats, they instantly all have chemistry with Sanji, which I think was a very cool way to have like introduce him into the group. So like once he eventually, locks in with them, it makes sense. It's like, of course, he was always kind of meant to be here. And those are the things I think really work as a viewer who is aware of these characters, but I'm not attached to them. So it's like, yeah, I knew Sanji when he showed up, but like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. Oh, he instantly starts flirting with Nami. That's Sanji.
Yeah,
that's tame.
I know.
Yeah, it was. I was kind of like, that's one of the things I kind of dread about Sanji. Like, even though it's kind of funny that he has this complex, at the same time, it's still like, like, I don't, just be normal. So the fact that they toned it down a little bit, at least for now, I'm like, okay, good. At least we're like easing our way into it.
I don't think it'll ever reach manga or anime level of what they do with the character, because it just would not work.
It would be
at all in live action.
It would.
Yeah, it would be a lot.
And they also cut down on his chain smoking. They did it once. I'm glad they did it. But his smoking, it only showed it the one time. So far, I haven't seen farther than what
I'm glad they let him do it, because didn't they stop Hopper from smoking on Stranger Things for reasons?
Yeah, I think they did.
They do that all the time. It's kind of annoying. Like, it's what he does. Well, there's a character named Smoker. I swear to God.
Yeah.
If he doesn't smoke, we're gonna
This is the 4Kids version where the smoke comes out of his mouth for no reason.
Oh, at least they gave him a cigarette. Sanji and the 4Kids would have had a lollipop.
That was amazing. What if that's the joke, is that he doesn't smoke? That's the bit.
Smoker? Oh.
Yes, that's the bit.
He doesn't smoke. Look. He can't. He keeps it in his mouth, never smokes it. It's just
I just want to look cool.
Double cigar.
I just always love the fact that the naming is like, his name is Smoker, and it's just a premonition of what he does and what he becomes.
It works on both levels.
Yeah.
Yo, guys.
Welcome night, TC3.
Hello.
Cool profile pic.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us. Isaac, tell us about Usopp. We didn't meet Usopp when we did our
first
episode
off,
1.
I have to make a quick sidetrack, sideshow. I would argue that Don Krieg isn't the biggest change with this show. It's the fact that they reveals that the Garp is Luffy's grandpa. We knew that Garp is his grandpa is it at the end of the 4th episode? In the manga, we only know that he has a grandpa back in chapter 309, if I'm not mistaken, and then they reveal who he is at the post-Ennis lobby arc, which is a while, which is back in 433. Yes, I check. Did a double check. Okay.
That's cool.
And
I appreciate you.
So I would argue that that's to be a bigger change in comparison to having Krieg being a cameo kind of deal.
That was the biggest for me, because I already knew he was his grandma. Like, at least based on the anime.
That was the biggest surprise for you.
Yeah.
Fair point.
So for Krieg, it was like, a cameo, okay. I knew he was in it, so for him to just be a cameo.
Fair point.
I was like, oh, shit.
I mean, what they did clever with Krieg is that his appearance is also kind of a tribute to what happens to him in the manga. It's just that the way it continues is different. But with Garp, is like they literally took something that is a revelation from chapter 400, 500, if I remember correctly, and just pulled it all the way back to this because it connects to the cover story that was in the manga. So that was a clever
and Garp is
way of kind of bringing it together
to that live action so far too.
However, I would have to say that I think making Krieg a cameo makes sense because even though it's a cool fight, it's always felt like somewhat of a semi-filler in my book, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, it's most of East Blue.
Yeah,
filler boss.
True.
He's a filler boss.
But when it comes to Usopp, well, it's a guy that wants adventure, and he's someone that unfortunately have cried wolf a little too much time to have people taking him seriously.
Yeah.
And which he luckily, when he finally meets the Straw Hats, he has the chance to. I don't know if the word redeem is the right one, but that's the closest one I can think of right now. When it comes to he's truly becoming the brave adventurer he claims to be, and not just being you can argue being a good storyteller. If it wasn't a Straw Hat crew, he should have become an author. In my book.
Great storyteller, right?
Yeah.
Probably could sell.
Mr. Embellisher.
We're gonna make him buy the book.
We're gonna make him the Jiraiya of One Piece. He's like the tale of Monkey D. Luffy. He starts writing the actual story.
Captain Usopp.
But the one who found the One Piece was me.
Yeah. Wait till we get the Soga King. Oh my god. We get the wait. If we get that, obviously.
It's a big if, but I love that you're hopeful and optimistic of looking forward to things that can come.
I thought it out. Every saga could be almost every saga could be its own season. We could get to 5. It fits like 5 and 6 together. Let's do it.
You hear it, Netflix, do it. You got a great show. It's number 1, I think, just about worldwide, maybe like number 2 or 3 in some regions on Netflix. I guess I want to focus a little bit on Usopp because, like Isaac, you were explaining this character, and I'm just going to be completely honest. Usopp was one of the reasons I could just never get into the anime art style wise. It's got a lot of racial undertones to it, which they're not gonna do in the live action show, right? Like this is just a guy.
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
So for me, again, seeing all these characters without the baggage that I kind of brought into it for the first time, I thought they did a lot of interesting stuff in that episode. It's very much a bottle episode, which is kind of weird in an 8-episode season. Like we're spending 2 episodes in this mansion, and we're meeting Usopp. I think Usopp's introduction was probably the smoothest out of everyone. I think because we said in our episode 1 coverage, Jamie, that Zoro and Nami kind of we jumped to them in a very like abrupt, kind of awkward way, but like the story needed to get them involved. Once they're involved, it's great, but it's kind of hard getting there. Usopp and Sanji, to an extent, kind of weave their way into the story very smoothly. And Usopp's an interesting character to me because he doesn't have that same driving force, at least from my perspective, that Luffy does. Luffy wants to find the One Piece, become the Pirate King. Usopp wants to have adventures. Like as long as he's with the Straw Hats, he's kind of achieving his dream already, So I think that's an interesting introduction to this group. I guess I'll toss it over to you, Jamie. What were your thoughts on Usopp and his role in this live action series?
I've actually really enjoyed him in the live action series so far. And similar to you, like seeing Usopp's design, it was like I thought I had seen it all with Mr. Popo, but see Usopp, I'm like, damn, we just can't catch a break, huh? But at the same time, I still felt like, okay, at least we're represented in some way, even though it's sad that we have to just like settle. But I was overall happy to see Usopp, especially since Chopper is one of my favorite characters, and him and Usopp get along really well. But as far as the series goes, I think that yes, he's looking for adventure, but at least to me, it seems more like he is looking for like admiration and looking for like somebody to say like, Usopp, like, you're appreciated. I think you're great at X, Y, and Z, and just like, I guess pretty much give him his flowers, even though I'm not sure if he really deserves it right now. I think he's a talented guy, but he's doing more walking than he is talking. But slowly over time, I think as we've seen with the Straw Hat crew and with the events of like episode 3 with him helping Kaya get out of that crazy situation with Koro, which that was a great episode in my opinion. That's one of my favorite episodes so far. But yeah, I really see Usopp as a very dependable character. Sometimes it takes a little bit more of a push to get him to be that guy that you need in your corner and that, like, you know, somebody to turn to. But I do think he is dependable. I agree that he is seeking adventure, but I also think he's just like, I would say lonely, especially with seeing the backstory with his mother being sickly and his father joining Shanks's crew and not really coming back to see him as much. So he was just really looking for the attention from his town. Don't know why it resulted in him saying like, "Hey, pirates are coming every single day." For who knows
was
how.
A little weird.
Yeah, I mean that's the same in the anime. I don't know why that. I mean, I guess you could say Usopp is very consistent. I guess if anything, he's very consistent with that. But yeah, I think he really was trying to find his place and find his people, and he's been able to achieve that with the Straw Hats so far. So now it's really, at least what I'm looking for from him is developing the skills, whether it be like leadership, like he's always saying that he's the captain of the ship or he wants to be the captain of the crew. And also I want to see more of that slingshot. You know, his dad's a famous what would you call it?
Sniper.
Yeah, sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah, he's a famous sharpshooter. So when we've seen him illustrate some of those moves within episodes 2 and 3, but I want to see a lot more from him because definitely Luffy and Zoro have been doing a lot of the fighting so far. And me just getting to episode 5, we see Sanji kind of coming a little bit. Of course, not using his hands while he's fighting, which is amazing. And I'm like, the fact that they're like making this believable in live action is so cool. But yeah, I want to try and get everybody a little bit more involved when it comes to the fights as well. But yeah, I love Usopp so far.
Joel, Joseph, any thoughts on Usopp's introduction?
I've really enjoyed this version of Usopp a lot, honestly. Am I a little disappointed he doesn't have a long nose? Yeah, a little bit. Not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed. It's not that hard. You could have did something, but
yeah.
And it's funny.
How long would you go?
Like,
when does it get too ridiculous?
Too long? I don't know. It's doable though. We've seen fake long noses before, so I figured that it doesn't have to look like a hot dog like they make it look most of the time. But I get it. They didn't. They went away from it. Okay, fine. It went with the whole he's a liar. He's a big liar, and it's part of the whole gimmick that he kind of has. Pinocchio. Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay,
you know,
it makes sense now.
Crazy. I was thinking in my head like, oh, they should just get people that worked on Pinocchio to like help him out, and I didn't even connect those two concepts.
Get Guillermo del Toro. He's working over there now, right?
little things, but like it's fine. It's a little detail. It's a big part of the character in terms of visually, and even I think even his you see his nose. It's prominent in his own what do they call the
Jolly Roger?
Yeah, the Jolly Roger. Yes, it's a prominent part of that his look, but and especially when again Soga King when we get there, I don't know how they'll pull that off. Maybe it'll just be part of the mask now. But I'm very interested in how he progresses now because he's very on par with he is in the show. He's a scaredy cat. He's full of shit most of the time, but he also has a lot of heart. Usopp is the sniper or the shooter. You know, he's like he says it as soon as he recruits him. Well, we're gonna need a sniper on the team, even though what does that mean? Who's looking for a shooter? But what his role, right? Especially a slingshot, not a gun. Like his father had 2 pistols. He uses a slingshot. That's his thing, though. He trust me, it gets better from here. But Usopp, especially, is also, at least in the beginning, their shipwright. So he helps fix the ship. It's what he knows how to do already, because he literally worked in the shipyard. And that's he takes care of the Going Merry a lot of the time. And he has a special connection to it, at least in the anime he did, because of the fact that it was a gift from, what's her name?
Kaya.
Yeah. So like for him, it's also very emotional. He's very attached to the ship because of that. So he's very protective of it. But yeah, I love to see where they go with him, because he's very much a comic relief. And he has to grow into that, because he's always avoiding it. He likes to talk, but he doesn't like to walk most of the time. Everything's behind the scenes, like, oh, I kicked his ass. But when he gets it, like, I'd rather not. Can we just avoid the fighting? But I can't wait to see what else they do with him, because Usopp is a very fun character in the show.
It's funny that you mentioned, like, his role is being the sharpshooter, because that is not what I anticipated. Like, I assumed, like, he's gonna be the maintenance guy for the ship, right? We really think that his role is gonna be slingshot. Okay, Luffy, sure, that's what's gonna happen.
That's how it was in the anime, though. It's like, what does it mean? Yeah. He is the shipwright, at least until Frankie shows up, and then it's more or less they work together. But it's, again, sniper is his thing. Whatever, that's his thing, and that's just part of his charm, you know.
That's amazing.
And he has a good shot, honestly.
Very true.
I do like the fact that he works at the shipyard, because that kind of adds to because in the original he just kind of knows, or kind of just manages to flick it together.
Right.
But here at least he saw people work with ships, so he's at least been a little experienced, even if he hasn't done it himself. So that adds a layer to that later on, I believe. Right. And I love the way they introduce him to Luffy by just him thinking it's the voice of the Merry, which is like a great little foreshadowing. And it's just really, they do a good job with him. And I think it all comes down to Gibson's performance, who really handles that. I'm really good at telling a story, but if it gets too serious, I want to run away. And he just handles that really well. I think especially when he does want to confront and save Kaya, it's just a great moment.
Also, visually, he does kind of look like Usopp without the nose. And
I'd argue that everyone looks like.
Yeah, they do. They really do. A lot. Everyone does kind of look exactly like who they're supposed to look like. But I'm just like Usopp. He does look like Usopp. Like, it's crazy.
You know, he does. I wanted to ask you guys a question that I can't answer. We talked about a little bit, like, some of the changes that they made to kind of streamline this into an 8-episode Netflix series. Do you think they did a good job of that? Was there anything glaring that you missed? Open question. Whoever wants to go first.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go.
I actually like the changes overall, because when it comes to Garp, it fits that he was at the Roger's execution, and considering, well, he is a big part of why Roger got captured in the first place in the manga. And I think if he in the manga is very determined to making him a Marine, Luffy that is. So it sort of makes sense that he has a bigger role in the beginning to try and see what he is doing, his grandkid, that is. And if he is doing some, well, I can do this, and he can't handle himself and all that, or if he truly is ready, quote unquote. And I do love the scene at the 5th episode where he throws the cannonball at them, and Luffy is reflecting it with his devil fruit power. So it reflects to their ship and crosses their and damage it. And the only thing he can do basically is just laughing and just saying, being proud of him, and that's just Garp in a nutshell. Garp is, I would dare argue that he's almost more insane than his grandkid at times. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that scream that he gave out after like his the mast fell down. At first I was like, I didn't know what to think. I thought he was like furious, and then he starts laughing. I'm like, all right, is this guy crazy? And this is like a lot of thoughts went through my mind at that moment.
I mean, Garp, and also the whole that Krieg was just a cameo. I think that that makes sense because, well, it's honestly something that you can really skip out and just cut, and they made it work seamlessly with Nami being there at X Morgan when they introduce them at the same time, because it makes sense that she wants to get the treasure of the Grand Line.
Yeah,
and the fact that the Fishman raids the Alabasta arc, well, it fits considering what they changed with Nami. So I think it's not like they just add. The only thing that they really added as a sort of like a show only kind of thing is I'd argue is the part with Garp, and that is honestly something that I think Oda would make himself write himself itself. Sorry, if he were writing it now, was more sure on how to do it, because as I said before, the fact that he is a grandpa that did his damnedest to make Luffy a marine and not a pirate. You would expect that he is from the start and not just being kept a secret until 400 chapters later.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next since I don't really have a lot to say. With me, like, I don't remember like the whole structure of how everything started, more just like key events. So everything has played out pretty much in the way that I remember things going.
Or the way you even think it went, because
I'm like, you know what, that makes sense. Like, I think that happened. Like I'm very I guess valuable in that regard. So yeah, I think everything has made sense so far with the way that things have happened. And like we said in the first episode, or in the previous episode of talking about this show, I think Zoro and Nami's introductions were like not as natural. And I don't remember if they felt the same way in the anime or not. Not to say that it was like disruptive and like it messed up my experience, but it just didn't feel as natural. Just getting to know them a little bit more. But outside of that, I think everything's been really good and has actually made me look forward to like returning to the anime. And I'm on the Sky Islands arc, so it's interesting. I like stopped where they would possibly stop doing the live action if they get out that far. But
I hope they don't. I hope they keep going.
Yeah.
You gotta go until he finds the One Piece.
I forgot to mention that the introduction of Sora in this show is something that he only mentioned in the manga and anime. And here they actually show it.
Yeah. So that in our episode 1 review.
Yeah. So in the anime, you just see him in the yard. Then, like that's how you see. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Very abrupt too, by the way, in the anime, seeing Zoro just
it is
chained up there,
just
like,
there with his head. I think his headband was on. Right?
Yeah.
I just always loved he's there, and then Luffy thinks, this guy will do. And then only later it's like, oh, he's a nice guy. Okay, not even before he invites him.
That's one thing I really loved about how they handled Luffy in this show is that I don't think he's gullible. I necessarily don't think he's stupid either. But like he's just that carefree where he's like he sees Zoro, he's like, hey, yeah, you're a good fighter. I think you should join me. No. Yeah. All right. Then he just lets him go. And I think that sticks out to Zoro because everybody in that episode, and this is something that I think they really did well, everybody's trying to get Zoro and use him and use his capabilities for their own gain. And at first, Luffy says, we can make a good team. And then Zoro rejects them like he did all the others. But since Luffy didn't press and he just said, go follow your dream, I'm going to just help me get out of here and we're good. You know, and I think that sticks out to Zoro and that strengthens their relationship going forward because he's like, you treated me like an actual human being and not like a tool for your own personal gain. And you respected my wishes of not wanting to join you. So now I actually want to work with you and follow you. And I think that pairs well where Zoro wants to be with Luffy in these early episodes, and Nami, she's clearly up to something in these first few episodes, right? And I think that's an interesting contrast because they pair so well with Luffy's just bright-eyed, almost naive personality. And it's like these two have been hardened by war and life and traumatic events. And so I think that is just a really good contrast between those three characters when they're first introduced.
Very true.
I think what they do really well in this show, and I think that's what stands out most to me, is that changes they make is also, especially with dialogue, like Nami and Zoro have a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of characters that don't interact a lot in the manga or in the anime that get a bit more time here, but they use dialogue as a way to thematically connect everyone a bit more or a bit more naturally. Because in the original, it was just you literally go from island to island. I think the biggest change is the map of the Grand Line being kind of a MacGuffin for the story.
Yeah.
Because everyone's chasing it, and that brings Buggy to them. And it's not just, oh, we landed on Orange Island and stuff went bad and we're involved now. There's literally a device or reason for all of these characters coming together.
Right.
And I think it works surprisingly well because with such a MacGuffin story and a story like One Piece, it could easily kind of derive into cliche, but they still make it not like as relevant. It's just a thing that keeps these people talking, keeps these people together, and it's their interactions that actually pushes the plot forward. It's just that it's less of a by coincidence, but there's at least more drive from character perspective. And especially with Zoro, with him, like he says over and over again, I'm doing my own thing. And then Luffy just kind of being like, okay, but by coincidence, because of how the scenario came together, they're kind of stuck with each other, and he starts to grow on him. And where we see with the confrontation with Kabaji, he's like, I think I believe him because that's all also gone to Naki's performance, is that he feels believable. He feels like a person that'll inspire you. And they really bring it together to have this be a character piece or a character-driven narrative. And to kind of move away. And even with these changes, it still feels like a natural connection. And I like those small ones, like, for example, Kabaji being in the bar with Zoro and that connecting back to Buggy. And those are like those small changes, them having all these interactions. It gives it a bit more of a fluid. Their initial, I agree, the initial introduction of Zoro and Nami is a little abrupt, but it feels more like a typical thing you would see in TV, where it's like, oh, here's an important character that's going to come up later. But what they do well is, for example, I think the whole Baroque works element with Zoro is so interesting because it is something that isn't technically relevant to this season. No. We don't know where it goes with it, but it's something really important for season 2. And it just kind of feels like this perfect setup for people that are like getting into the first season, liking the story and being like, wait a minute, wasn't there something earlier on that we haven't really resolved yet, if they resolve it at all? And that could lead to people being, okay, I have to watch the whole show. I want to see a second season and keep people interested.
Absolutely. I think that's my favorite part so far. East Blue Saga isn't exactly the longest saga, but it does. They've managed to condense it very well. Everything Joe just saying was perfectly well said, because like they put Romancing Dawn in one episode. They put Orangetown in one episode. They did Syrup in 2. Like they managed to condense the story perfectly to the point where like they hit all the right beats and they cut whatever they needed to cut without us really missing anything major. That's why it was like the only thing that really stood out to me was the Creek thing, because I honestly, it's been years since I've seen that first saga. I don't remember much. So like the fact that I remember that. The only thing that I can literally tell was different is that a lot of it was happening at night, and I don't remember a lot of that happening at night. But aside from that, I couldn't tell you much changed because I haven't watched it in so long. They to me hit a lot of the same beats. And that, to me, the only major thing that stood out to me from just memory was Krieg. You know.
Gotcha.
Ironic. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
With the night scenes, which is I always find funny, is a lot of people point out that a lot more stuff happens at night, and we kind of forget that mangas are black and white. So putting things at night really limits.
That's a good point. Sure.
It's funny because the My Hero Academia anime has the reverse problem where every scene in the show happens during the day, and all the manga readers like, I could have sworn this scene took place at night. It's like, I don't know.
I had to. Don't get me wrong. Like the Bleach adaptation, the movie was not nearly as good as what we're getting now at One Piece. But my biggest issue with that Bleach one was that a lot of Bleach takes place at night, at least on when they're in the human world, and there was like nothing at night almost in that movie. And I was like, this is there's so much missed. There's so that element is missing because I just remember that music playing at night during a lot of those fights, and it's just not the same when it's not.
Atmosphere is completely different.
The atmosphere is different, absolutely. It just feels different, and like even though it works for the show, and you forget because a lot of this show takes place during the day, things can take place at night, and it still works out well. Or even the setting, they change the setting for Orange Town, a lot of different things, and like it works. It works.
It feels like probably also a way for them to use the show to show a passing of time.
Right.
Because a lot of people, especially with them changing clothes, the biggest problem was always, it feels, very cosplay. It feels very one note. Everyone's wearing the same costume. So they're using these elements to keep it a bit more natural and more grounded.
That's a good point too. And I love the callbacks to the manga covers with the costumes and all the color. I didn't even notice that until someone mentioned it. I forgot I saw somewhere. I'm like, that is clever because I never read the manga, so I wouldn't know the differences. The only thing I know is from the anime. So I remember when they wear different colors or were different certain not costumes but different clothes. But from the manga having those specific, I just thought that was clever and very cool.
The best part is Nami's first costume in the live action show is her prototype. That was like the first version of Nami that existed. It's not in the original. Yeah, which is really cool.
This one?
Yeah, so she has like a stocking with an orange stripe on it.
Oh,
her original design where she had a metal arm and like a giant axe that was taken from there.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting.
That's the trivia we need. The more you know.
Like that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Back in the comments for a second. Perp wants a Roger Rabbit style crossover between this and the anime. If Oda wants to write it, why not?
That would be crazy. I think that would make a lot of things easier for them too, especially as we go further down the line. So that would be interesting to see how they would like try to do that.
One Piece in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh boy. Never mind then. Never mind.
Turns out a Sam Raimi movie here.
Yeah.
This is a question for you guys. Would you be happy with the One Piece being the friends we made along the way?
Being the journey itself? I've always said I'm totally fine with that. Because I do believe the journey is a big part of it. Honestly, watching it One Piece as long as I have, you forget about the One Piece altogether. It's complete. I forget it's a thing. I just know it's the name of the show. It's about it depends on who you're talking to. Because obviously, if it's Luffy, him becoming the king of the pirates is his biggest priority, more so than even the One Piece. But obviously, for him, it is to get the One Piece to become king. But I think the point is, I think they're joined together. I don't know, really. Maybe One Piece is an item, but I don't think it is. I think it's deeper than that. Or else, whatever it is, let's say it is an item, it'll never live up to the hype after 1,000 something episodes. It doesn't matter. The item is nothing. It's the journey.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Oda confirmed that it is something. So it's not just a random trivia thing.
Yeah, right.
It could be, but he did say it is an object that is found. Right. He did confirm that because that was like the biggest question for the last 15 years now.
Yeah. I mean, I bet even if that's cool. Oh, that's cool. All right. Who was the person with the guns?
Was that Luffy?
Sanji?
I think that's Sanji's original design.
Ah, Sanji.
Interesting.
So is Nami just like Full Metal Alchemist mode? Is that what we're doing?
It's cool.
looking like
there's actually there's some prototype designs for all the Straw Hats, even with Chopper, where he's like a giant deer smoking with a gun.
Oh,
there's some. He went through a lot of ideas. I think the only ones who stayed the same were Sanji, Nami mostly, Zoro, and Luffy, and Jinbei was not too far off from his original design.
Well, Jinbei is also newer than the rest of them.
But,
yeah.
Interesting.
I can't wait for that. Oh, the fishermen have been interesting. Let's say that. I'll say that much without going too far.
It's also with Zoro and Luffy, and I'm not so sure who the girl is supposed to be.
Interesting.
I think that's even like the first draft he ever made of it.
Zoro has pink hair.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
Interesting.
I think I like the hair now. Yeah.
Green hair, Zoro. Yeah. Is that Luffy?
It's kind of crazy if you even read the original version of Romance Dawn, which was like his initial pitch for the One Piece manga, and it was like they had designations, which is kind of also called back in the series because they talk about good pirates and bad pirates, and the original version had a name for good pirates and bad pirates. It was like,
oh really,
blue tails versus I'm not sure what the exact name was, but there was like extra. And Garp was even part of it originally in the initial.
I was going to say that. They even did an episode on that they semi-adapted.
I do have it here.
They sort of like they did a semi-adaptation of Romance Dawn in the anime, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did. They did like they adapted the original sign because the one person that's
isn't Garp a pirate there?
Yeah, he was a good pirate. He was the one who had the gum fruit. If one can see this,
I'm giving you the one shot. Hold on.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh,
wow,
that's crazy.
I never.
Nami even looked a little different, but she was closer to her original design.
Yeah, shorter hair, but pretty much the same.
More or less, yeah.
Luffy was the funniest thing is a lot of people complain when reading it. Luffy is smarter in the original because he talks a lot more.
Interesting.
So it's also quite a difference.
That's probably why they complain about, or whoever complains about the live action for the same reason.
Yeah, because he talks too much. And it's like, well, Luffy wouldn't talk that much.
Yeah. Well, Luffy is different in the anime, but that's because he's allowed to be at that point. He is a caricature.
We're a long way from Gear 5 in this show, but
let's get to Gear.
I always loved the thought of Gear 5 wasn't a thing when the production started, and I don't know if Oda told them, but once it was revealed that one of them, the production staff just went, "Mother."
They're probably panicking. They're probably panicking. Like they're not sure how they're going to tackle that.
Mike, whole cake arc, and design-wise, and with all the character and sets and all that jazz.
Okay.
Imagine Alice in Wonderland, but on steroids.
That's a good one. That's not a bad idea. It's weird. That is some weird shit. That whole I'm right now. That's what I'm watching right now. That's where I'm at. It's crazy.
Shoes were a bit weird. I actually agree with this.
I mean, it's how should you put it? Have you run in sandals?
Yeah, no. Right?
I'm also not made of rubber, Isaac. I'm sorry. You can suspend disbelief here for.
Imagine how it was going to be for the actor. That's what I mean.
I don't. It didn't bother me that much. I thought it would bother me more when I first saw it in the picture from behind, because that's how. If I first saw it was because everybody got a behind shot, and I saw he had sandals and he had shoes and not sandals. I was like, that's different. I don't know if I like that. And then when you see it, it kind of looks like shoes. It kind of looks like sandals, but they're shoes because they have the X on it. Same color as it's the same color as the skin, basically. It's different, but I've already gotten used to it. It didn't bother me as much as I thought it would.
I wonder if they tried out, because I remember seeing behind the scenes for Namor for Black Panther 2, where because he's bare feet, but he's not allowed to do any stunts bare feet, so he has like fake feet on.
Fake feet, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I just think they couldn't make it work with sandals because it's just too big because it's on top of his actual feet, and so probably this was the best compromise they could make up for.
Maybe because they just did that. They did that with Kraven recently. I just saw behind the scenes the same thing.
They need to
It looks so
redesign
weird.
Luffy's shoes. I think that's the biggest issue. Like, I don't have a problem with him wearing shoes. They don't fit his costume because that costume, it's ripped from the manga, so it's like sandals go with that outfit. They should have designed a better shoe, a better color, to kind of tie it together a little bit. That's kind of my complaint.
I would have been fine if I saw it just once with the sandals before he converted to the shoes. Just to finish the look.
Or maybe he'll bust through the shoes or something, and then they'll become sandals. I don't know.
Or give him a reason for half shoes instead of, because it's easy to lose a sandal. Trust me. Especially with the way he uses his powers. But it's a minor complaint, I guess.
That's why the straw hat has a tie, because in reality that thing would have never stayed on his head.
Absolutely. And there are times you can see the tie in the anime, but it's rare.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, I don't know if we ever see that tie as much, but
you don't see a lot, no.
Yeah.
Did anyone notice the one mistake they did with the prop in Zoro's fight against Morgan? If you look closely, when he does a roll, he has his the sword in the Iwado Monchi, and you see the sword go.
Oh my god!
Rewatch it. If you see it, you can't unsee it. It happens with all these productions, but it's really funny.
That's amazing. I've only been able to get through these on one watch a while ago.
I do plan on rewatching it eventually. What I want to do is rewatch. I know it's out in Japan, right? Or no?
Yeah. So the original voice actors.
I want to see
the Japanese dub.
I want to see.
We don't have it.
We don't have it.
We don't have it here. No, it's only we have the original German voice cast, which I grew up with, but there's no Japanese audio, and I do not know why.
I want the Japanese one, and I want to rewatch it with the voice actors from Japan. That would be awesome.
That would be incredible. I'm pretty sure Brandon was rewatching it that way because he was dying to do it, and he was like, "It's good. It's good."
I did see clips, and the voices match surprisingly well.
Really? Oh God!
They're
gonna use that.
They're pitched down a little.
Did they?
Yeah,
took it down a little bit. All right,
I got French, German, Italian, and Spanish, but not the Japanese audio.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They don't have the Japanese. Oh, come on.
Dang.
English subtitles. That's a way.
Maybe it's their strategy to get viewer base high. In week 2, it gets revealed, and they're like, "Oh, every country has."
I like that.
Everybody go watch it again.
That's a good gimmick, though. You're right, because right now it's out. Everybody's talking about it. Give it a week or two, and then release it. No, watch it in Japanese.
That's what Barbie's doing. It's like, hey, now in IMAX with a post-credit scene. It's like, dang it, I'm going back.
Yeah, give them a reason to go back. Like when Avatar released on Netflix, it was all regular D or whatever, like SD, and then it came out in HD. No, I didn't go back, but it pissed me off that the HD dropped right after I finished Avatar in SD. That's bullshit.
That's brutal.
I was so mad. I'm like, this is some bullshit.
Watch it again.
I might have to now.
Joel, we spent a little time here, but I have some thoughts. Let's talk about Shanks. What were your thoughts on Shanks?
When I first saw he got casted, this actor, unfortunately don't remember his name.
Peter Gadio.
I think he did a great job. He captured Shanks very well. He looks great. He looks a little weird with the actual hat on for some reason. Maybe because it looks small on him. I don't know. It just kind of looked a little odd. But he looked without it. He looks great. like that. It looks like he looks just like Shanks. I thought his adaptation of Shanks was good. I always like Shanks as a character. And I thought this origin, and I love how they broke it up into pieces, and you got to see that point. I was waiting for like, when is he going to lose on? When is he going to lose? Like, I'm waiting for that one scene because I know they're going to show the beast. I want to see all of it. And they show Luffy stab himself near his eye. I'm like, they did that. They really did that. And did it. Show how he got.
That was intense.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, they went there. I was like, oh, good shit. But Shanks, overall, I thought they did a really good job with Shanks. It's hard to argue they didn't do a good job with anybody. I mean, they pretty much nailed a lot of the characters visually and personality-wise. You might get some minor characters that might not look exactly alike or might not act exactly like you might imagine, but the major characters, they hit pretty well.
There's one that people are a little upset about.
Which one?
With Ben Beckman.
Which one's that?
He's the from Shanks' crew with the long gun. His pretty much his wife.
Oh my god!
Okay.
Because people are mad that he's just a little chubbier.
Oh boy!
So mad about it.
People gotta chill.
He has like one line, but still.
It's sort of like people are. I've seen people that are pissed because this live action version of Nami doesn't have big enough balloons. If you catch my drift.
Hey, those early versions of her did not have those balloons. Okay?
Hey, you can be a thick hot uncle. It's possible.
There you go.
Dad bods could be hot.
Yeah, dad bod's in. You know.
That's
man, we do have a question here we have to address.
Hockey portrayal. Looks up hockey.
it.
I'm so bad with names. It's not like I don't care, everybody. I'm just really like I struggle to remember people's names in real life. So anything outside of that, I'm like I don't want to try.
I think the main thing was Shanks' scene with the Lord of the Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I think they did a good job. I mean, it's visually difficult to do in live action, and especially the thing we know about hockey later on is that it's only added visually for the viewers or for the readers. Mm-hmm. So technically, in the world, it isn't the have that visualization that we always see. So
it's
I think they did a good job.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that about Demon Slayer, so that's crazy.
I didn't either. That blew my mind.
That broke my heart. It's like, wait, there's no water dragons actually happening. No. It's just slashes. Crap.
That makes me respect the animation team even more now. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I would love a version without it, just for shits and giggles. Just they take out all the animation. It's just the.
Can you imagine the last fight of the series? It's just like, yep. We're stripping it away like the manga intended.
That's insane. I don't know. Don't do such a beautiful anime because of it, you know?
It's one of those moments where it's like, I'm sorry, I know you created this series, but you are wrong, sir.
If there can be demons, there can be water dragons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seriously.
What's the point in learning all these different breathing techniques if they actually weren't doing anything?
Yeah. You can't see it.
Yeah, but I love Shanks. I love seeing young Luffy. I think that to me is what really drew me to Luffy as a character. Like Inaki is great, don't get me wrong, but like these flashbacks work so well setting up the man Luffy becomes. I think, again, like you said, Joel, Shanks is a great portrayal of like that mentor like role, that figure in Luffy's life, and him giving him the hat. I got teary-eyed a little bit because like he lost an arm, he's leaving. It's a great moment, and it's just like, dang, that's why that hat is his treasure. Yeah. And like they set that up with Nami, like it's trash. Why do you care so much about the stupid hat? And like the payoff, I think that's why again the show really works is that they're taking all of these other elements and like you were saying, weaving them together in a very like streamlined way to where they're always going to call back and refer to something that happened an episode ago or even 10 minutes ago. And not do the anime thing where we're going to have a million flashbacks to do it, but they're like, you're smart enough to remember the thematic elements that we're referring to. And I think it being really episodic also kind of plays in its favor. I want your guys' thoughts on that. Each couple episodes, they're going to a new location. They're meeting new people. And it feels very organic because they are pirates. They are sailing across the East Blue. But I think not say like, hey, we're gonna take a pit stop and we get thrown a random adventure. It's like they always have a narrative reason to be where they're going or their destination. And then again, Usopp, Sanji, they kind of meet them in a very organic and natural way. And I think making it an episodic series makes it way easier to get into the world of One Piece because you're not being bombarded by a ton of things all at once, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it could have worked weekly.
It could have.
A lot of Netflix shows could work better weekly, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm approaching it. And I definitely gone through like multiple years of just like binging shows, but I find myself not really able to remember what I watched afterwards. Like somebody will ask me about it and it'll be like a week afterwards. I'm like, yeah, I watched the show, but no idea what you're talking about. So kind of taking things. Yeah, kind of taking things a little bit slower for me. Like even with like, we have the whole season out and I'm like just now getting to episode 5. We'll probably watch episode 6, like maybe tomorrow, maybe in a couple days, just so that way I'm really like taking the series in and like making sure that I'm like paying attention and not just, like streaming it into my brain only for it to like leave moments later.
I really wanted to let this marinate. I didn't want to watch it all so much already in 2 days. But we said we're going to do the 4 episodes. I pushed myself to say I didn't want to. I just could not stop watching. I got to 6. I'm like, damn it. I really wanted to let it like come into next week where I could watch like one, maybe like 2 a day or something like that. But man, I'm like, I don't know. I might watch one after this. I'm very tempting not to. I don't want to because I want to let it last. But
yeah.
It's hard.
We managed to get to like episode 6, but that was already like after work and everything. It was getting to midnight, so we were like, okay, we'll watch it tomorrow. And then by the time we started watching it, we're like, wait, we're already on episode 6. Well, we want more.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, that's the other part about it too. That's tough. Not enough episodes. Netflix. Where are the rest? Where is the rest of the season?
I need Netflix to end this strike now so they can get to filming this right away.
Give the writers and actors their money.
You know what it is too. I've said this before, but I wanted this to work so bad so I could see it continue, and all the positivity that I've gotten from it, from people that don't even watch the show or don't watch anime. It's so nice to see. It's like being a proud parent. You're like, oh wow, you fucking did it. Like if there's gonna be a good live action adaptation, it would be fucking One Piece. God damn it, thank God. And I'm just so happy for the show and the people behind it and Oda. I'm like, if it could just continue, this would be great. I hope it can get past more than 2. Please.
That'd be nice. I feel like. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in right quick and say I feel like this might be primed to be the flagship show for Netflix because of how much they've promoted this and done interviews and done press. Like, we're seeing clips of the cast. They can't film clips, by the way. They filmed all of that months in advance because they wanted to make sure they had them in front of people and promoted this show. And talking to some of the creators behind this series, there was a lot of passion in this project. Like, they had to consult with Oda to figure out if there was even electricity in this universe, because like,
I love that question.
That was amazing. Yeah, I was talking to the production designer on Collider.com, and he was like, we had to contact Oda because we don't know how to light these sets and we want to still be true to the source material. So does electricity exist in One Piece? And Oda's like, I never thought about that. I don't have to draw lights.
It's so true. I'm like,
that's awesome.
That's a good point. I never thought of that. They communicate with snails. They don't explain that either. But you know what?
Speaking of the snails, they did those perfectly.
They did.
Yeah, the snails are great. They're a little bit gross to me, but I still appreciate the details and stuff.
That's how you know
that's kind of the beauty. Right. That's kind of like the beauty of these random snails that just exist, and they don't even explain it. They are just there.
They're just there.
That's awesome.
And that they're puppets is so beautiful. It's just someone in there just.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. The ones that the transponder ones, the little ones that go in their ears, that's just gross. I don't know how they made it. I don't know, but like, I just love that world. Is so dense. There's so much to it. And then Mushi was so well made. Oh man, this show's good.
Netflix about to make a special order for $10,000, make your own Den Mushi.
Oh gosh,
That'd be amazing.
Customs.
I really need, you know how Disney Plus does the like assembled, how we made whatever Marvel show. I need that for One Piece. I really do.
Yeah, I think they did one for the last season of The Witcher actually, so they might be like trying to do that for a lot of their own shows, which I would love.
That would be great. Yeah.
Getting caught up with some of these comments, going back to what we were talking about, the hockey. Yeah, I don't know One Piece, so I was a little taken aback by it, but I'm just like, Shanks has a Sharingan. Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. And I think Brandon spoke a little bit more to his perspective of hockey in our previous episode. So if you want to hear more about that, definitely check that out. He's the guy to go to for that. I'm not familiar with hockey at all. I'm not that far.
They don't really get into it till much later. Towards the. Go ahead.
Sorry, you don't even know what he's doing until the post time skip. So it's exactly like the original experience. You're like, why could he stare down that thing?
Yeah. I just thought he was that badass. I had no idea.
Yeah, I thought that
too. For the longest time, I didn't know what was a hockey until you get to it.
Yeah, the fish was like, okay, I've taken an arm. You know what? I think I'm good. I will take my leave. I realized I made a mistake. I apologize.
You get more information during the time skip.
I think some people were a bit disappointed with Shanks' portrayal because of his reaction to the scenes with Luffy stabbing his eyes. Eating the gum gun fruit was a little more comedic in the anime, but the live action made it more serious, which makes sense since it was seen in Luffy's POV. Yeah, I think that summarizes it perfectly, honestly. Like, yeah, Shanks is very much that idol father figure for Luffy. So it was basically like dad scolding him a little bit, right? It's not really for laughs and for jokes. And as it's kind of wrapping up this entire conversation, because unless there's anything else you guys really wanted to focus on before we start wrapping things up a little bit. No.
I don't think so.
There's probably so much we can talk about. I just can't remember.
We can do a part 2. I mean, we got to episode 5. We can do a part 2.
When we do the rest of it, when we finish it, I guess we can get into all the other little things. Like the portrayal of Zoro's really bad sense of direction. They do it very subtly, but it's in the show. If you pay attention, it's in the show. I love it.
Is there a canonical reason for that? Because I'm like, why is this man always going in the wrong direction?
It
just continuously gets worse.
Yeah, it's such a big part of his character that the latest One Piece game, when you play as Zoro, you have no minimap.
That's
amazing.
That's a nice touch.
That is amazing. I did not know that. That is amazing.
There's
an ongoing theory that Zoro's sense of direction is so bad that he's just automatically heading towards the One Piece, and like he's the only one who knows how to get there, but he doesn't know because his sense of direction is terrible.
What you're saying is like Nami just has to sit back and say, "You're in charge, Zoro," and boom, series over at the One Piece.
Let's go, Zoro, go. He doesn't know where he's going most of the time. It's hysterical. I love it.
So funny. But yeah, I wanted to go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just thought maybe there's one funny thing that's making the rounds in the One Piece community about the opening, because you see a lot of familiar faces in Gold Roger's execution.
Yeah.
And there's one person they focus on that is kind of, people are taking it as an opportunity to bring back an old theory about a villain from the Alabasta arc. Because there's a scene where they tease him being there as well, but they're playing around. I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much in how far someone is in Alabasta.
I think I know what you're talking about. I mean,
you know what I'm talking about.
I've gotten that. I've way farther than that. Yeah, but I don't. I don't know if I agree with that theory, but we'll see. I guess.
it just feels like there's so many deep cuts that are also just a way to play with audiences or play with people that know these theories, and it's one of those great that just makes a conversation that helps the show also live beyond I watched it and got it out of my system.
Right. You could go back, like, hopefully. I think the point is, like, if it does go as far as we hope it does, you can go back to season 1 and go, oh shit, this was in the first season. You can go back and point it out, and they planted that seed. all the way back in season 1, and it's real watchable. You know what I mean? That's probably why they did a lot of that. I can't wait for Arabasta, by the way, if we get to them. I mean, if we get season 2, because that's obviously what's coming next. So.
When?
How did
Start
they do
saying
Chop?
when.
When? I apologize.
When?
We're speaking into existence.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was great in this show.
I haven't technically got to those parts.
Yeah. Oh wait, you're on 6 and you haven't seen that yet? Oh, okay. So I've got a little bit to go then.
Yeah. I mean, they've interacted, but not fully yet.
Okay.
It's not because he was pretty much out of commission for.
I can't recall.
I echo this so much.
Agreed.
I'm also scared though.
Chopper can be really good or really bad.
Bro.
Yeah.
They should get the team behind Detective Pikachu to make Chopper.
Or the team behind Avatar: The Last Airbender. They've spent like 5 years trying to figure out how to make Appa and Momo.
Good point.
That's what's been taking so long. They've been
That's
trying
my
to
question.
figure that out.
Will they go CGI or will they go like puppet or animatronic? As I meant, or a mixture of the two. Yeah, maybe it's a mixture of the two.
It might be a mix. Like for specific moments, they might have to do like a CG thing, kind of like Yoda a little bit.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe. You
Like
should have a little bit of both. Yeah.
Like in the original Spider-Man with a swinging animation, it's just a doll that she's hanging on to in the Raimi version.
I can't unsee that. Like once that was pointed out to me, I'm like, she's just hugging a mannequin, and it's so
Especially
obvious.
because the hair is blowing the wrong way. That just
Oh
sells
my god! I never even noticed that.
It's so funny.
Fuck, I can't go back.
I will say, as the one person who is not reading or watching the anime or manga, this show did a lot to get me to the point where I almost want to check it out. It's still 1,000 episodes and 1,000,000 chapters, but they got close.
You don't have to do it all though, you know. Just watch what you want to watch, which will eventually be all of it.
Which will that's how they get you. That's how they get you.
Yep.
But I think
that effect alone is a showcase of what the show really is here for and how well it's doing it. I think Mo from the streamer who was in the comments also started reading the manga after watching the show.
Yeah.
Just got to remember, not all at once, Mike. Take it in doses.
Right.
In pieces, yeah. It's
in pieces.
I don't know though, because much like Invincible, because I was talking to you, Joel, about this on the chatter after. This show does just enough different from the anime and manga to where it might be weird jumping into a different version of the story. You know, like one of the reasons that I dropped the anime was because didn't care for the art style, didn't really like the character portrayal. Yeah, that's the thing. How many episodes until it gets better?
I don't,
because if you say, "Oh, it's only 200
better.
episodes out of 1,000," like that's a lot.
Yeah,
I dare argue that it truly starts as soon as after Arlang. So
really, okay.
But in this show, I don't have to. Like that's not even a concern of mine. Like they're just you know. And I think that's the point of I'm still experiencing the story of One Piece in a way that's accessible for me and how I want to watch it. Which is why having these different versions exists, right? Because Isaac, you say read the manga because you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours of watching anime. You can just read 15 chapters in a day as opposed to watching 15 episodes in 2 weeks, right? Having different ways for somebody to experience One Piece is great, and so I'm glad this nails it because it's just another avenue for somebody to discover it. And if they want to read it or watch the anime, that's there for them. Or if this does well, just keep watching this interpretation. This is why I like comic book movies. They're all slightly different, but if you like a Batman movie or a Batman comic or Batman the Animated Series, you're still a Batman fan. And you're still experiencing that story in a way that's best for you, you know?
Yeah. I get it. I just think if One Piece is one of the greatest animes of all time, you should experience it fully. Like, that's all.
That's a big commitment, but I respect your opinion.
Curious take.
No pressure.
You know, I told Isaac, and I might jinx the world, but I watched Naruto during the pandemic for the first time. And so if there is another pandemic, I will watch One Piece.
Oh gosh.
But let's hopefully don't get another pandemic.
You have to, like let's just say you're just gonna watch it at some point. Let's say that instead.
Pandemic opened a lot of avenues.
Read the wiki. That's an option, I guess, too.
At first. I mean, well, it's not as fun, but yeah, you get information.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this was good enough for the wiki, like for the first arc, I guess.
It kind of works. Like I said, like I remember scarcely most of that saga, so it's like this hits a lot of the points you need, you know.
For example, Kobe in the anime had a lot more time to develop out of his fear and trauma versus in the live action, he moved on pretty quickly. Yeah, we haven't talked about Kobe at all. I actually really liked Kobe in this show. And I think that's mainly because of how relevant Garp is in this entire show. So like it gives him a lot to do. Going off what you guys have been saying about Garp's role, what does Kobe do in the original version of the story? Like, does he just disappear for chapters and chapters at a time?
He has a cover story. He's just you just see him train with Helmeppo, but there's no real payoff to it until chapter 300, 400.
Yeah, it's far out.
One thing is for certain, though, the actor that plays Kobe needs to hit the gym, depending on how long they take.
We get there, you know.
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
Right now,
you just get John Cena recast.
Right now, they nail it. Kobe looks just like Kobe. Helmeppo.
Yeah,
bro, that picture with Garp, Helmeppo, and Kobe. They look exactly like that. That's exactly what they look like. It's crazy. They really do nail it. Yeah, they look just like that. It's insane.
I do love how they change how Helmeppo gets his hairstyle, which he's so famous for.
Yes.
It's such a clever way.
It sure was. I was like, interesting.
It was again tying a lot of things together.
Garp's headdress, the dog thing, how they adapted it in this compared to his full chin strap version.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I think it was in like the first or second episode where you see him wear like the little doggy beanie, and I was like, what's going on with that? Like it feels so like it's odd to see a grown man wear like a doggy beanie. It was so kind of funny.
I love how they don't explain a lot of stuff. It's just how they are.
People are fish people. They're like a person that looks like a fish, and there's the fish people. There's people with different hair colors that they don't explain ever. They just look the way they look. There's animal hybrid people like a Mary, and then people like that.
Mary.
Don't explain anything. And you know what? That's how the show is anyway. They don't explain anything. People just exist. It's a weird world, and we're just in it for the ride at the moment.
Yeah.
Brandon made a cameo.
Brandon.
Everything you needed. That's high praise. The parallels between Kobe and Luffy throughout this season. Love it. Yeah. I think that really is what helps tie that Garp change into everything, right? Because we meet Kobe in episode 1 with Luffy, but having them be reoccurring, jeez.
Yeah.
This is Kobe post time skip, by the way.
Oh wow.
Completely different.
He really got wide.
Yeah,
spoilers, I guess.
He doubled in size.
Yeah, he does get all
tripled.
You do see
some kingpin jeans or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You see, when I was a boy, I met the future king of the pirates.
Cool.
Oh man. Initially very weirded out by Arlong, but after watching the live action, wasn't really feeling off of it. Arlong is an interesting character. I've got more to say about that in our next video because we'll plan another stream and we'll talk about Arlong. Guys, is there anything else we wanted to talk about in episodes 1 through 5? Or is that a stream?
I'm trying to think what was 5.
What do you feel about
5 was the introduction of Sanji.
Introduction of Sanji. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing that I might thought of, I've seen some people complain that even though Syrup Village is technically Usopp's storyline, how do you feel about Zoro's
I liked it.
I think it was it felt natural to kind of have the flashbacks there, but I know some people say, well, this should have been about Usopp, but that's just comparing to how the manga approaches it.
Yeah, right. No, I agree with that. It fit. I think they did it really well. They did fit it in somewhere too. So it's like that was a good moment for it.
I was just answering the question about Buggy.
Oh, do you guys? Oh,
yeah, we did. Go back. Beginning. I know you came in a little bit late. We talked about a lot before you arrived.
We've been here almost 2 hours. So.
You're right.
It didn't feel like it.
I know it really doesn't.
It doesn't. That's again. It's the friends we made along the way, like Dage was saying, like a half hour ago. We are the One Piece.
By the way, I am sorry that I interrupted. But
no, you're good.
It's fine. No. I thought it was part of the conversation. I didn't know you were answering a question. I was like, cool.
No worries. But to get back on topic, I didn't notice because that's something I didn't know about. I think by and large, those episodes were still very much Usopp centric, but Zoro was also a main character. So him getting a couple of moments and flashbacks here or there, I think was fine. Yeah. Didn't distract me too much.
Right. Was Sanji's origin in 6 or 5?
It was in 5.
Was it? We did.
It's later, the full origin.
Okay.
His origin is in 6, right? But like
he's introduced in 5. But yeah.
Yeah, when I mean like is when he was a kid. That's what I meant. Like
that's probably I haven't seen that yet, so that's probably
okay.
in 6.
Okay, 6. All right. I wanted to because there's a little bit of a change there too, but like I thought it worked for like. Because I remember I said like when I was watching, I was like, oh, interesting. How they got, and then they did it, and I'm like, oh, clever. I was like,
I love that episode, honestly.
Yeah,
not knowing anything about Sanji because I don't think I met him yet when I fell off of the anime. Okay. That was a really good episode.
Oh wow,
that was very early on then.
Yeah, it was again during the pandemic, so I'm like, goofy pirates or goofy ninjas. I love ninjas. So I went with Naruto. Next time, it'll be One Piece.
The age-old battle, pirates versus ninjas.
Seriously.
Pirate ninjas.
Oh my god. Do not tell Kishimoto or Oda that. It's going to be the next series.
No comment.
Oh god. Are there pirate ninjas in One Piece? You should have started off with that.
There's pirate everything in this damn show. Let's be real.
At this point, they're not really pirates; they're just pirates in name, but that's about it.
Yeah,
that's one thing that kind of annoys me a little bit. It's not like a big problem. Like Luffy wants to be a pirate so bad, but all of his actions are not like anything a pirate would do. So I'm like, my guy, you just want to be a sailor and sail the open seas. You don't want to be a pirate.
If anything,
that doesn't sound as cool or edgy.
If anything, they're arguing both in the manga and anime and all that. Yes, he's more Robin Hood than an actual pirate.
Yes, he is much nicer than an actual pirate is. He's not a normal pirate at all. His version of the pirate is very different than what a pirate actually is. And obviously the people he was recruited the same way. Because obviously his first mate was a pirate hunter. I mean, it goes against everything.
It's true.
Nami's about as close to a pirate as it gets, I think.
She's the most pirate of all of them. And was a pirate
knows
already.
How to use a ship.
Right.
That's very true. That's very true. Guys, it's been fun hanging out. We've been here for a long time, even though it doesn't feel like it. So we probably want to make a part 2 and wrap this one up.
Sounds good.
But I think we left off at a good note. Like we were just about halfway through the series, having a great conversation. The chat, you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for stopping by, hanging out with us, giving us your thoughts on One Piece. Joel, thanks for stopping by here on the Amateur Otaku.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
Right there. See where it says my name? It says my, and underneath is my tag, right? See? And that takes me to X. Because that's my
X.
Oh no, we're not saying that.
Have we finally broken to where we say X instead of
No.
X
Twitter?
Twitter
Never.
X, or Instagram.
Twex.
You can find me at that
Twixer?
down there.
Twixer.
Twix.
This debate went something extra, but I digress.
It's One Piece. It'd be weird if it didn't go extra.
There you go.
Really extreme.
We say that go beyond on this channel, so we're staying true to our word.
Plus Ultra, baby.
Plus Ultra.
Joseph, thank you so much for joining us for the first time. You're always welcome back here to talk One Piece, anime, anything. It's been fun having you.
I'd love to. Thanks.
Where can the good people find you, your work, etc.?
You can find me on Twitter on @thatabel, THATABRL. I forgot to add it in, so I apologize for that.
It's in the description. I already got you.
Great, awesome. And if you want to read something I wrote, like my review of One Piece, you can find me on murphysmultiverse.com.
Nice.
Fantastic. Jamie, Isaac, they know where to find you. You guys are here every episode, so you don't get fancy outros. I'm sorry.
Special anymore.
No, not. You see, this is why Didge was saying you got to be a special guest. You don't get the special guest
Yep,
treatment.
I understand now.
If you're always here.
Oh,
Tragic. But we're going to be here talking One Piece, talking Naruto whenever that comes back. 20th anniversary, getting 4 episodes. Jujutsu Kaisen, new arc starting. Shibuya Incident.
I love it
I
already.
do have one thing to say, though.
Mr. Wolf, hit us.
Next week, we are going to start to publish a new series that me and Jamie have started recording. Is going to be released. I don't know what day yet, and we have started to cover the Twilight Princess manga, or should I say, manga adaptation of The Legend of Zelda: The Twilight Princess. Since now that Wiz Media have the first 3 volumes over at their app, I have wanted to cover those Zelda mangas. I collect them physically, so I've read them for a while, but I have for longest time wanted to cover them in some fashion. And now when Wiz Media got it, I asked the crew, hey, are you interested? Jamie wanted to jump on board, and well, next week is the first episode.
Mhm.
Stay tuned for Legend of Zelda content. It's been a great year for Zelda. I'm so glad
I'm
Viz
telling
made this
you.
available.
Year of Zelda, man. I'm taking it all in. I'm loving it.
Let's go.
Fantastic
Yeah.
stuff.
Let me some link.
Also, happy Labor Day weekend. The chatter after is going to be reviewing my adventures with Superman on Monday live. So go check out that channel.
That's gonna be spicy.
Oh boy,
That's
I'm
gonna be
scared.
spicy.
That was such a good show. Seriously.
I
It
thought
was a
it
good
was.
show.
Why is this going to be spicy? You know what?
Got to find
Tune in
out on
to
Monday.
Until
boy.
next time, guys. Take care.